and welcome to another day of Meta Talks. This one is very special for me because it's something I'm extremely passionate about, and I sort of manifested talking to Fred here, and I'll tell you all about that later. At first, though, I very excited because we are announcing today officially that the event in the Philippines is going to be held as an immersive adventure, a Web3 immersive adventure in Camigan Island, the first of its kind in the Philippines. And I'm very excited about that. So check out metaverse-xyz.com. And we'd love to see you out in the Philippines. I know Fred's going to be there. So welcome, Fred. And I'm going to read Fred's bio here, and then you'll understand why I am super passionate about this. So he is a meditation extremist. 5 years as business development before for booking.com, which we shared some interesting stories. He was an entrepreneur in wellness, stress pain reduction since 2008. He wondered why the beach had such a healing effect on the body and mind and invented sensory reality, I guess SR, initially to stimulate healing that the beach gave. Today, Sensik is utilized for mental health and well-being, PTSD, addiction, phobias, education, and I love this one, serious fun. Welcome, Fred.
Thank you, Daniel. Kate, nice to
Yeah,
be in your show.
yeah, absolutely, Fred. I'm curious. I was able to experience the pod. Can you tell us what was the story? I know you're into meditation, but can you tell us the story? How did this come up?
Yeah, yes, meditation is really nice, and when you're in a peaceful situation and you can relax and you do your mantra, you feel really good. But once you start entrepreneuring and being in real life and getting all the stress and the burdens and the financial challenges, meditation doesn't always help. So at one point, the stress was building up, and yeah, it was not so easy to relax for me anymore. So it was a little bit the difference, like being peaceful in meditation. I did a lot of that. I still do it a lot. It's a really nice tool, but the real life, can sometimes be a bit more stressful than you can stay relaxed for. So at one day I was a little bit stressed with my company, and then I thought, okay, let's go to the Dutch beach, take a little rest, and I just noticed that I started to relax actually quite fast, and I thought, wow, how is that possible actually? Because I'm only on the beach. I was meditating to get the stress away, but somehow I couldn't find the peace. I kept on being in this panicky state all the time. But when I was on the beach, very fast I started to calm down, and started also to think positive again and to relax. And I thought, well, that's a bit strange. So I thought, what happens right now outside of myself? I just focused a little bit on the sound of the waves. I felt the wind on my skin, and a little bit the people and the birds around me. And it was a nice sunny day, so I felt the warmth of the sun. It was all very comforting. And I thought, well, all these things you can also stimulate actually. So what if you would create a space in which you can stimulate all the sensory stimulations? Can you then still get the beach feeling without the beach? So that was initially a bit a crazy idea. Then, yeah, long story short, I went to the University of Delft, which is a technical university in the Netherlands. I came up with the idea. I got some help from them. Then we got a little group of startups. It was already that was between 2011 and 2016 that happened, and we started building the whole concept, which you can see on the back here, the sensory reality pod, a multi-sensory experience pod. And initially, the idea was, can you get the beach feeling without the beach? And well, then we were a bit lucky. The first prototype worked quite well, and then we got help from a neuroscientist, a professor from the Netherlands. He works with TNO, and TNO is a government-backed science group. You have all the smart people from Netherlands. They work at TNO, and they help like innovations in the Netherlands, and they're like a science group. And we got funded by them. We got the knowledge grant.
Mm.
And they said, hey, this has a lot of potential in mental health care, like for traumas, for anxieties, depressions, and addictions. And so they helped us bringing this further. And they developed with us for 1.5 years. We got a lot of knowledge from the neuroscience department and the neurobiology department, and also their cognitive psychology department. And if it's okay for you, I can explain you something which we learned from them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, all right, because that is really significant actually. Um, because your brain is actually a little computer, big computer, which stores experiences, and the brain takes a lot of energy. So like 20-25% of all the body's energy is consumed by the brain. So your brain actually likes to stay a bit passive. It's the same as your body. Your body also wants to be a bit more passive, because we want to be lazy, because we don't want to spend too much energy, because energy is life. And 10,000 years ago, you have to run to a deer, for the whole day, and then carry it back to camp, and then you can eat. Today, every corner of the street has a snack bar or something. But still, the body is programmed to save energy. So your brain as well. And whenever you observe something, your brain actually shuts a bit down, and is more like an observer. So if you watch, like, maybe television, listen to some music, or listen to somebody telling a story, do a presentation, you're observing. And there's a big difference between observing and an experience. Every time you experience something, your brain is way more active, takes a lot more energy. And whenever you have like a multisensory real life experience, your brain interprets the experience and decides the emotion and connects it together and stores it in your brain. And the next time you experience it, you get a replay of the initial experience. And this is actually what a trauma is, and what anxieties is, and all the experiences that we have in life get stored in your brain. And the initial experience, they really determine how you experience things. So maybe sometimes people might react a little bit strange because of something small, but maybe they had a bad experience in the past, and then the brain just kicks in and gets a certain emotion or a fear or an anxiety or some state out of a past experience. And this is the way to get from this observing state to this participation state. You actually need coherent multisensory experiences to really switch your brain into this experience mode, so to say.
Mm.
Then we thought, wow, this is very, very interesting actually, because there's a lot of audiovisual content in the world, a lot of media, which is beautiful, hyper realistic, but still you're observing a screen. And in order to really get into an experience, like to bridge the gap from really observing to experience, you need like actually a multi-sensory experience. So we call the concept sensory reality, like a multi-sensory media player in which you enter, in which you can really experience narratives, stories, or maybe also re-experience your past emotions. And you can also help change the emotions to that past memories, which is psychotherapy basically, but then in a more efficient manner.
Wow, Fred, I have to say, guys, for all of you guys listening, I was able to experience it myself. So if you see the photos behind Fred, it kind of looks like a sauna. You're sitting there and you put Oculus, and I have to say, it really does reminds me when you're meditating. And the crazy thing is you smell what you're seeing. And I was like blown away. I was like, wow, I wasn't expecting this really good. But again, that sensory reality, I could see how you get really relaxed, and it really feels like you could go in a deep meditation and you're out there. And so this is something that I love of the part of the technology of the Web3 as we are heading out there. I mean, the sensory of like immersive experience and smell and sound all together. And this is helping humanity. And so, Fred, is this your purpose? So is this something that, what is your big, hairy, audacious goal for the company?
Big hairy audacious goal, right? Well, yeah, I'm a big fan of the Matrix, and
Mm.
I suspect we're already in it, you know. But I really believe in that the brain, that's where the experience happens, right? It controls all your hormonal systems, your emotions, and you have these senses which are actually the gateways to the outside world and the inside world. And once you can tap into that and utilize that, you can really do a lot, because there's a lot of people, of course, on the planet today, and we all want to be fulfilled, to be satisfied, to be happy, and there's all that are all emotions, and that are all experiences. And once you can digitize that, so to say, I think you can solve a lot of problems uh, because of sustainability, but also yeah, quality of life and just happiness in the end. Because you can do some things maybe to feel satisfied, maybe buy some new shoes or something. But maybe you can also just get a really satisfying experience to really make you feel good. And in the end, I think that has a lot of solutions for mental health, and yeah, that also to create a sustainable planet in the end. You know, if you can bridge the gap between observing and experience it. Yeah, it's actually the metaverse, right? Which the world is going to right now, and the more real you can make that, yeah, the more problems you can solve with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Dan?
Yeah, so like I mentioned early on, this is something I'm very passionate, having suffered from pretty severe anxiety since I was like 12 years old. And so I understand from, you know, teen mental health has been really bad the last few years. Adult mental health has been really bad the last few years. And even though we have more things that we could do and more abilities and more access, it seems like things just get worse and worse. And then you also have, you know, the conversation around how's mental health going to be with virtual worlds, and we might not even really be talking to human beings in the future. So I think the great thing is, though, that a lot of people are not on the conversation around, you know, VR and AR and XR and these tools that can actually help humanity. So when I saw what you were doing in Amsterdam, I was blown away, because I was just having a conversation with Kate around, I wonder if somebody is using VR and experience to actually help with mental health and anxiety and fears, specifically phobias and fears. That's something I've dealt with. So I'm just really, you know, blown away by the fact that you're creating the five senses. I've never seen that anywhere where somebody is doing all five senses at one time. Can you talk through what are you doing with? I believe you had mentioned there's like an FDA in Europe, like a similar version of where you can, you know, I think you're going through some trials now, if I'm not mistaken. Can you talk through that?
Yes, sure. At the moment, we are doing like 7 clinical trials. It's just actually not us doing the trials, because we are creatives and technicians, and we make software, hardware, electronics, and everything, and also VR environments, and we love to do it. But we are not the scientists, right? So what happened quite a lot is that the science, they picked us up, because they understand the power of the senses, which can help them solve mental health problems faster. And these trials, normally they get grants, for instance, and they buy one of our pods, and they also ask us to create the environments, and then they do the clinical trials. And right now they are, for instance, Dutch Ministry of Defense for traumas, PTSD, also some other science institutions in Europe, in France, for instance, for addictions and anxieties as well. And yeah, these are currently running, and that's very exciting. So the one of my favorite is called mindfulness-based relapse prevention.
Mhm.
So they are combining like we create six experiences for them. Two to learn mindfulness, and for other experience to get the clients suffering from addiction to get them into the seductive environment, and then they have to use their mindfulness techniques. So really focusing on the now and not focusing on the impulses. Okay, the impulses can come, but they also go, and you don't have to respond for it. So then you can really create tools for self-care, and this is also, I think, the future of digital health, anyways. That it will
Mhm.
be more and more self-care tools, and that people can also do at home.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Fred, I know it's in a pod right now. So do you think there will be a time where it's just going to be wearables, where it's just going to be a glasses where people could just turn on and experience it that way? Do you think how I'm sure that's going to be years of creating that technology, but are you guys building that currently? With
Yeah, we really believe in the pod, because you really create like a really enclosed environment. You shut down all the sensory stuff from the outside, and you create like a blank space, like a grid, so to say. And there you fill it in with the multi-sensory experience, and you make it as coherent as possible. And yeah, so we will definitely keep working with pods. There are some really good solutions already with VR and fragrance. They're also very powerful, and also, of course, more accessible and more mobile. But we really stick with the pods also, because you have a really nice environment where you also can do the measurements. For instance, we can measure also biofeedback, like heart rate variability, skin conductance, of course, heart rate, breathing, and yeah, that can be really yeah, really useful as well to learn more about, for instance, where a certain trauma trigger is, or what certain stress levels there are coming up. And about stress levels, one very nice use case is also the employee well-being. More and more large corporates really I feel also the responsibility to keep their employees and colleagues mentally relaxed and happy, basically. And yeah, so
I
I see.
guess
Yes. Yeah. So it's corporation, like it helps burn out and people get clarity, then they can perform better and more effective. So is that going to be so you have a pods for psychotherapists, or is that health and then some corporations and who else?
yeah,
How?
so yeah, this for instance was our first use case, 2018. There was a care home with the elderly people and mentally disabled people, and we did 120 clients. We tested them um, for 3 months. We measured all the biofeedback, and also subjective grid was also analyzed by the caretaker. And then the results were actually quite good before, during, after. People were less sad, more relaxed, more happy, less tensed. And also, again, TNO made the whole analysis and did the whole report. And for them, we built really big wheelchair accessible pods. So they're now in several different care homes in the Netherlands for improving quality of life by providing sensory activation for people that are in a care home whole day, which is
Mm,
actually not a really healthy situation, because you also need a variety of sensory stimulations to keep everything going, so to say. So if you don't have that, sometimes they say use it or lose it. You have to keep also the experience system going, because our whole life is, of course, yeah, we humans, we are made to experience. It's what the whole life is about, and that's what we need and want as well. So once you are not so mobile anymore, or you're in a care, or even in an office, right? It's the same. You're too much doing all day the same thing, and yeah, actually we belong a little bit more in the nature, in a nice, beautiful environment where there's a lot of variety of things to experience. And there's a bit what we lost uh, with our advanced society. We get more and more and more shift away from the nature, and it's also very stressful for our minds, I think. So
yeah, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking like even athletes before they have to perform, right? I mean, there's so many use cases. I imagine if, like you mentioned, I've seen a lot of employees or companies where they'll put, relaxation places within or relaxation, like massage chairs or something. But this is something that seems like it'd be, very useful in different environments. Are you finding though after people? Because I know if you meditate for a while, it's like a muscle, like you really build up that muscle. Are you finding that people, if they do this outside of when they're in the actual pod, if they're just meditating without the VR, does it make them stronger? Or what are the extra benefits in terms of, so I use this and then I also maybe I don't always need it. Are you finding that? Or do people have to continually only use the pod with the VR?
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, it's not a VR pod, so sometimes quite a lot of people don't even use the VR. They just enjoy the multi-sensory experience, with the colors and the sound and the fragrance, and especially also in care homes and elderly people, there it's a bit sometimes too invasive to use the VR headset. But the nice thing about the brain, it just gets all these impulses and start to respond, and that's actually what the experience is. Of course, if you add VR, I love it. I'm an addict, but you might not always not always need it. And I think as a company, we are a bit too young to say, okay, what is it can do on a long term effect. So basically, yeah, you talk about sports. This morning, I had a call with, by coincidence, a former Olympic champion. He was a rower, from Holland. A lot of water, a lot of rowers and people like that. And yeah, he was also he made an app with also again a patented algorithm, also again by this TNO organization. So they linked us together that you can really predict burnouts actually, because if you measure certain vitals and they all go up in a period of time, then you're not relaxing enough, so it starts building up. And yeah, these are very nice things you can do also for intervenience, and also to get performance, get better performance. Another nice idea we got from University of Italy. They are close to the Milan soccer team. They would like something they thought about, call it active visualization. When you focus your mind on certain actions, your body can also perform them better. So once you experience your goals and your actions, like more like a visualization, a multi-sensory visualization, the more you can experience that, feel it, and smell it, perhaps the better you can also perform. But those are just very nice, cool ideas we haven't been testing yet, but it's yeah, it's food for thought. I think I believe in it. But
Yeah, Dan.
Yeah, I would probably say Michael Jordan probably would say the same thing, if you what people might think is impossible, if you can visualize it and if you can get in deeper state. I mean, that's how, I guess I love how people say at any point everything seemed impossible, but somebody figured it out. So it's no, I think there's a lot of use cases, it sounds like. So it'll be interesting for your organization as you continue, where do you spend the time, and how do you continue to grow? For those like Kate mentioned, easeability, obviously it's probably difficult to ship this all around the world. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious, Dan. How did you? What is the technology? How is that possible? It blows my mind that you can smell whatever you're seeing. Like that's crazy for me. Like where is that coming from? From the pods? Like this is wild.
yeah, that's actually one of the was also a challenge. We have over 100 fragrances, which you can yeah, vary from maybe nature, very nice nature, but also like really experienced fragrances like metal or fuel or maybe smoke. Sometimes for research, we get the request to make the fragrance of blood and all those crazy fragrances. We can all produce them. And of course, we built the software, the SDKs for the game engines Unity and Unreal, so anybody can what we call sensify the experience. So really program any also interactive experience into a multi-sensory experience that can then be played in the pod. So it's really like a like a maybe like a synthesizer that you can just program and play.
Are you the only company that's doing this, the sensory reality, or there's some other people from other parts of the world?
Yeah, as far as we know, we haven't really came across anybody
Wow.
that does it. But yeah, we did over 150 events. We actually launched in Austin, South by Southwest, 2017. Got a lot of exposure. We got a lot of visits, even from Sony and all those big brands. They just come have a look. So yeah, probably. You know, I worked at Booking.com for 5 years, and my CEO always said, when there's no competition, probably what you're doing doesn't make a lot of sense. So I'm not really
Well,
too afraid of that.
yeah. Well, sometimes it's very hard to be the first, but sometimes being the first, you get rewarded. And oh, by the way, I love how the connection of Booking.com. I mean, Jeff Hoffman, the founder of Priceline, is a good friend of ours and one of our speaker. And so I love how you're doing what you're doing. But Fred, when I was there experiencing it, I can't stop talking to my friends about it because it's really is an amazing sensory reality experience. And I'm telling them how it is, and then now everybody's like, "Oh, I want to experience." I have to say, if you get a chance to visit, you know, you guys pods, I mean, do it. But it kind of really reminds me of I use Joe Dispenza a lot, like in YouTube. Like that's how it makes me help relax when I'm anxious. Again, entrepreneurs, we go to a lot of crap, right? And so that what kind of reminds me of like listening to Joe Dispenza's meditation, but even way 10 times better. Like that's my experience was.
Yeah, that's really nice to hear, Kate. And I must say, I had it myself too the first time, and I was really surprised how that was so powerful. And later we learned, because your brain is such a powerful machine, and whenever the senses they are, it's really, yeah, it goes really deep when you're in this experience mode. You actually, your brain is actually like rewrite. It's programming and rewrite. For instance, if you experience a traumatic event, uh, you need a few hours. Generally, they say 2 hours. That the event is writing itself into the brain, the trauma.
Mm.
So actually, you're constantly writing and whenever you do psychotherapy, you do a re-experience, and whenever the trauma comes back, you again have 2 hours to rewrite it. So it's really like a very powerful it's your core basically of what you are. So it's really, when you start activating that, it feels really strong. And that was for us also, yeah,
Yeah.
more
Well,
luck than wisdom, to be honest.
yeah, that's amazing. No, Fred, when is the a timeline? When is this going to be really available for everyone, for our corporates? I know you're going through some testings right now. Like, what is the timeline? Is it a year from now or very soon?
We're actually already in full sales mode. So we're currently we're selling like a couple that's a couple units per month. Let's say it's really starting to grow now. We have been experimenting a lot in the past, also finding the use cases, and then also developing around it, and seeing, okay, where can we add the most value. And our main focus is really the mental health and well-being, and then from clinical, but more to the self-care solutions. And so yeah, pods can already be ordered at the moment, and we of course keep on developing, and maybe in the future, a few years from now, we also want to go to the home market, but that can take a little a little longer, but
I'm
Awesome.
wondering, yeah, I'm wondering about the fears and phobias. Obviously, this is, very relaxing and very immersive meditation experience, like you said, sensory. But I'm really wondering about the opposite, where you actually face your fear. Has have you done anything like that? Is that, I don't know if that's allowed or not allowed, or if it needs to be with somebody who's like a therapist or professional. But to me, when I saw this, that's really what I've been thinking is, in order for someone to usually get over a fear, they many times have to face the fear and realize it's not gonna kill them, or something bad's gonna happen. And because that's what I've been basically living with half my life. So I'm curious, how do I, if somebody like me who I really want to face my fears, but in this safer environment, is that something that you're already testing?
yeah, that's what they do with the trauma trials. It's always with a clinician, because when you start to you do then you call it multisensory shock exposure. It's also, you can see it also on our website how that goes. There are some movies about it, and to really get somebody back into the trauma, and then you can perform certain methods. One of it, for instance, EMDR, or another one is you can work with some beta blocker to prevent the rewrite of the trauma. But this is all really the clinical mental health, and you cannot really do it yourself, I think. But on the other hand, if you look at any game, any war game or any scary movie, yeah, it's I think the same thing that you can. It's yeah, you can do it, but yeah, maybe you can also get into that anxiety stage when you watch like a horror movie or something.
Tim?
Amazing. Yeah, thank you, Fred. So if they want to get a pod, they want to learn more about the pods, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, best is just go to the website, and there are two options. You can book a call with us directly via Calendly, or you just do a request via the form, and then we contact you, and then we'll look at your use case and your request. And yeah, whenever what we like always most is really like new type of use cases. Then we can also sometimes even build for free. We build the whole VR environments to support the research. And yeah, of course, we like to get more and more added value. And one really nice one is also events. As you have seen, there's always big lines and rows for the pod. There's also yeah, if like corporate companies want to hire or rent or buy a pod, it's all
Yes.
possible.
Got it.
Yeah, all the info is on the website.
Got it. Sensix.com. Sensiks.com.
Right. Yeah.
Awesome. No, this has been great, Fred. I really appreciate it. So happy that we met. I truly think if, 10, 20 years from now, the sensory reality might change the world. I think it will change the world. And I think we're going to go back to this day when Fred talked about it, when he was the first one to really dive in. The fact you've been doing it for 5 years or over 5 years, you're really a pioneer in this space. So I can't wait to see how far this company goes and how far this impacts the world. So thank you, Fred, for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Daniel, for the nice words, and Kate as well. Yeah, it was a pleasure to be here. And yeah, look forward to our podcast in 5 years then from now.
There you go.